The 2027 quarterback class is one that is already generating a lot of hype before we enter the college football year, and for good reason. There are multiple very fascinating players at the quarterback position in this class, but I think the most interesting and the one that has gotten the most buzz is Texas quarterback Arch Manning. Arch had a really slow start to the season for the Longhorns, but finished the season as one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country. And in today's video, we are going to talk about Arch and discuss if he is as good of a quarterback prospect as many people seem to think. But hey guys, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that like button. It really helps me out and helps get this video out to more NFL draft fans like yourselves, and a football animation will appear when you do so. Comment down below what you guys think of Arch Manning and if you think I'm too high or too low on him, but without further ado, let's get into it. Arch Manning was the #1 prospect in his high school class and has been with Texas his entire collegiate career. He redshirted as a true freshman and was the backup to Quinn Ewers in 2024 when he did see the field in limited snaps. He finished 2024 with 939 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions on the year, and he ran for 146 yards as well. The hype was off the charts entering the 2025 season, but unfortunately for Arch, it came crashing down immediately after he played a really rough game against Ohio State in Week 1 and had some really ugly performances early, including a pretty bad game against UTEP. But things got back on track and Arch had a very strong finish to his season. He threw for 3,163 yards, 26 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and ran for 519 yards. And here we are again, talking about Arch Manning as a potential #1 overall pick in the NFL draft. But this time, we're serious. I think the first thing that sticks out with Arch is just the type of athlete that he is. While he is built like his uncles, weighing 6'4", 225 pounds, he's got this big frame, Arch does not move like them whatsoever. He has exceptional wheels in space. He is shifty, he has legitimate speed in the open field, and has been a dangerous threat for the Longhorns when they're able to get him out of structure. I think he's really good as a design quarterback threat, and I think at the NFL level, you could really tap into his athleticism in the quarterback run game. I think Arch's biggest strength right now comes from his awareness, processing, and pocket feel. One of the most important traits a quarterback can have is, do they have that sixth sense to feel the rush and evade pressure? And I think Arch has elite pocket presence. He is so good at navigating the pocket, finding small windows to reset his feet, keeping his eyes downfield, and making a throw. In scramble drill, I think Arch is one of the better college quarterbacks I've seen at throwing on the move, throwing with touch, throwing with accuracy, and again, showcasing that sixth sense ability that is needed in order to be one of the league's top quarterback. Both Eli and Peyton had it at the NFL, and I think Arch definitely showcases elite pocket presence from a college quarterback. But I also think his overall processing and football IQ is really good. He scans the field really well. He's able to work to his second and third reads. His eyes are constantly moving. He's able to work back to the middle of the field. And I love that about Arch Manning's game. And I think NFL scouts are going to fall in love with the way that he's able to process the game and read the field. As a passer, there is a lot to like about Arch Manning. In the first half of the season, it was clear that his mechanics were off. He was throwing the ball at a weird angle, and he had to fix those things as the year went along. But by year's end, I thought Arch looked the part. He has a lightning quick release, and Arch is able to generate a ridiculous amount of velocity on his throws with just a flick of his wrist. I think his arm talent in general is exceptional. He has a really pretty deep ball and throws with tremendous touch, but is also able to fire it into some pretty tight windows. Arch is one of the few college quarterbacks that you're going to find that is willing to work the middle of the field, which is another very important trait for a quarterback to have. And overall, when you factor in the arm talent, the ability to throw at a number of angles and throw with both touch and zip, along with the fearlessness he shows as a passer, there is a really strong baseline to work with when it comes to Arch Manning as a passer. I will say though, the fearlessness can hurt him at times too, and I do think While he's willing to try any throw on the field, I'd like to see him be a little bit smarter with his decision making. Arch had 17 turnover-worthy plays in 2025, and while only 7 of those were interceptions, I want to see that number cut in half this upcoming season and just see him take a little bit better care of the football. I think there are 2 major issues that Arch Manning needs to work on entering the 2026 season before we start throwing the generational label on him, which I do think he has the ability to get there. The number one thing with him has got to be his accuracy. He has to be more accurate with the football. And while it got better by the end of the year, there are just too many easy misses on tape from Arch Manning. And while I do think some of that is just timing, I think a big part of it are his mechanics. Arch Manning consistently threw off of a flat base. His footwork is a massive work in progress, and when you throw off of a flat base, you can't generate the proper follow-through, and you'll struggle to control where the ball is going. And I think we saw that numerous times from Arch throughout the season. I do think it can and will improve this upcoming year, but he completed just 60.8% of his passes in 2025, and I think that number needs to come up about 7 or 8 percentage points in 2026 before we start throwing the generational label on him. I think the footwork has to get better, and as a Colts fan that has had to sit and watch Anthony Richardson's accuracy struggles, a big part of his struggles have been because of poor footwork. Arch has to clean up the feet. He has to be better at not throwing off of a flat base, and if he can do that, the sky is the limit for him as a passer. I also think that Arch needs to improve under pressure. Arch was under pressure a lot in 2025, and I'm not necessarily talking about how he feels pressure or navigates pressure. I'm talking about his accuracy under pressure. His accuracy was really bad when blitzed, and he just tends to panic and make bad decisions with the football when he's under pressure, particularly up the middle. When blitzed last year, he completed just 57.8% of his passes, and when under pressure, he completed just 44.6% of his passes. A lot of his biggest issues came when under pressure with his accuracy, and I think that's got to get better for him, and he's got to be able to make plays under pressure. Arch Manning is considered a polarizing player by a lot of people, and I just don't understand that. And I truly don't think very many people watched the tape on Arch Manning last year because he was legitimately awesome in the second half of the year. Really, from the Florida game to the end of the year, I don't know if there was a quarterback that was playing better football than Arch Manning. He was hitting his throws. He was making good reads. He showcased that pocket feel, and he has it all. I mean, he's got the tools. He has the feel. There's just this it factor about Arch Manning and the swagger that he plays with that you just can't teach. And I don't like to say that like this player has aura. I said it with Jackson Dart, but there is an aura around Arch Manning that you just can't teach. The fact that people will say that he's a nepotism baby, that if his name was Joe Smith, nobody would care about him, that's just completely idiotic to me. I think Arch is a really talented quarterback who's my number 2 quarterback entering the year, and I have him as my number 8 overall prospect. In terms of a scheme fit, I think that Arch is an extremely versatile quarterback who can play in pretty much any offense in the modern NFL. He can work out of the gun, he's great in RPOs, can make play actions, doesn't do a lot of work under center. That's not a big focal point of the Texas offense, but I think he's got the ability to do that with his processing. I think he could be a really good fit in just about any scheme in the NFL. And scheme fit's not the most important for quarterbacks, but I think Arch Manning is a really versatile player. My player comparison for Arch Manning is a really lofty one that kind of came to me as I was writing this script for this video, but there's a lot of Aaron Rodgers in Arch Manning's game. And I'm not saying Arch will be as good as Aaron Rodgers or have the type of career Aaron Rodgers has had, but there are a lot of similarities with the way that they play the game. Both are fearless passers with ridiculous arm talent. Both have unbelievable pocket feel and the ability to make magic out of structure with throwing on the move. And both did have very similar questions around the accuracy and the mechanics coming out of school. Like I said, I'm not saying Arch is going to be the next Aaron Rodgers or be as good, but there are a lot of similarities between the way that the two play the position, and I could see him having a very similar type of career in terms of just being a passer that can make any throw and can get you anywhere any given season. Arch Manning is an awesome quarterback prospect. He has the traits, the intangibles, and a great baseline to work from. And if he hits some green lights this year, I think could easily go number 1 overall. And ultimately, I believe that Arch Manning will be a top 3 pick in the 2027 NFL Draft.